God from whom all blessings flow. Praise him, all creatures here below. Praise him above, ye heavenly host. Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Beloved Father, Mother, thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Om, Amen, Om, Amen, Om, Amen. Hari Om Tat Sat, O beloved Lord, make it so. So, there's a couple more of us. Good. All right. Swayam, and who is this other person? I can't quite read.
I see Jeffrey McLean.
Yes,
Oh,
hello.
hello,
I'm Jeff from Chicago.
Oh, I remember now. Yes. How are you?
Oh, this is my first time here,
Oh, is it the first time?
as far as I know.
Well said, Jeffrey. Well said.
Yes,
All right.
I stumbled upon your group researching Daniel Ladinsky, and I saw your meeting, and I watched a couple book discussions, and really loved the format, loved the sense of community and warmth, and it was very, very called to come and visit.
Well, Jeffrey, we're so glad you did.
Oh, thank you.
We're just finishing with the poet Tukaram, and then we're going to begin the book again. If you care to stay with us, we'll begin the book again with Rabia next week.
Oh, wonderful.
So, Heidi, would you like to read for us That Angel Talked Like a Sailor?
I would love to. That angel talked like a sailor. What part of heaven did she come from? That angel talked like a sailor, and she was dressed enchantingly scant. I can't even repeat the things she said, or picture once more the shape of her breasts. Though I know one thing, my fear of dying has vanished.
Please read it again, dear.
That angel talked like a sailor. What part of heaven did she come from? That angel talked like a sailor, and she was dressed enchantingly scant. I can't even repeat the things she said, or picture once more the shape of her breasts. Though I know one thing, my fear of dying has vanished.
Yes. That part of heaven where it is said that she was from that part of heaven where it is said that soldiers go, having given their life for their country in self-sacrifice. It's said that they go to that part of heaven where that kind of angel lives. This is particularly emphasized among the Islamic people, but it was also emphasized among the Christians when there were the Crusades. I don't know if any of the chaplains of World War I or World War II emphasized it to the European soldiers or not, but in any event, there's historical record that this is not just something that is peculiar to Islam. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say about this? Amusing, it's Tukaramat is wry humorous best. All right.
Is there a deeper meaning to glean from this?
Dear heart, what do you think? I've said my piece. Does anyone else see a deeper meaning in it? Haima, Heidi, Jeffrey, anyone?
Hello.
Yes, Jeffrey.
So even with that first line, what part of heaven did she come from? So right away, it's a question. And for me, I already feel challenged because it's already saying there's different parts in heaven. There's
Ah,
which part? Is it this one, this one, this one? When heaven, at least I would be led to believe, is whole. It doesn't have parts. So right
well,
away,
that's not what God told Aaron when he was speaking to him about Moses, when Aaron was jealous. Aaron said, God told Aaron, Moses has the run of all my mansions. And Bob Dylan echoed this in one of his songs when he says, my father's house has many mansions. Each one has a fireplace, has a fireproof floor. So that's Dylan echoed that from the Old Testament.
yeah.
So in fundamentalist Christianity, the fundamental Christian teaching, it definitely would be that there's just this one heaven. It's all one place. The streets of heaven are paved with gold, and there we'll understand everything, and so on. I agree with you. There is that. Anything more?
Well, for me too, that the angel talks like a sailor. She talks like you or I or anyone, right? Like there, to me, it's also pointing to the the commonness, the everydayness of it. And it's so clear, she was dressed enchantingly scant, which leads you to believe she was wearing nothing. She was, it was clear. I get a sense of it being obvious and clear and whole.
And she was being provocative. He says, I can't even repeat the things that she said.
Right, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
and maybe because it's not maybe it's not sayable. Maybe we can't. Maybe it's not repeating it because it's inappropriate, but not repeating it because it can't be said.
That's a thought that hadn't occurred here. Very nice.
I can't even, right? I mean, yes. Oh, so fun. I find these so fun. I've gone to other meetings exploring things like this, but I find poetry is a great springboard for just a diversity of conversation, and you get so many perspectives, which is what
Well, that's exactly it. As Walt Whitman reminded us, there is no one interpretation of a poem. Each
Yeah,
person who comes to a poem will bring to it whatever they are and they know at that time.
that's beautiful.
And and Goethe was very eloquent when he said, ladies, forgive the pronoun. Goethe spoke in the language of his time. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, isn't it? And so, this is true of Tukaram also. He sees in the world what he carries in his heart, which is, in the case of Tukaram, a fairly awesome heart. I think we can all agree. Well, from whatever perspective. Swayam, did you see anything more in this poem after you had considered it a bit?
All I can come up with is the last line. My fear of dying has vanished. So basically, most of us fear death, but there is no need to fear because what comes is beautiful in one way or the other.
Precisely. That's how I would read it also. There's no, that's why that song, that yogi's song, most of us are afraid of the world we've made with its yes and no's and karma's blows and temptations parade. We say it's hard and mean, a heart attack machine, but you can't scare me if I'm sticking to the Atman, believing in the Atman, seeking for the Atman. No, you can't scare me if I'm sticking to the Atman, and I shall never die. So that's that. There's no fear of death there.
Yeah, I just happened to be watching a short video clip of Ramana Maharishi saying, and basically, again, it's not like a journey that we are going as spiritual seekers from here to there or from now to then. It's in the present that we, like you always say, you can hold on to two thoughts that right now as this embodied jiva, I'm going through all this, but really I'm the Atman and I'm just the witness. I'm the witness, or no attribute, nothing touches me.
Precisely. And that is part of the art of spirituality, to be able to hold those two thoughts at once, the way we are at this moment, and how we therefore think and speak and act, and then the ideal, and we move from one to the other. Jeffrey, do you have the book there open in front of you? Wonderful. Would you like to read the book? It's The Shell Trick.
I would love to.
Okay, please do.
It's the shell trick. It's the old shell trick with a twist. I saw God put himself in one of your pockets. You are bound to find him.
Please read it again.
It's the shell trick. It's the old shell trick with a twist. I saw God put himself in one of your pockets. You are bound to find him.
Jeffrey, you're a very good reader. Thank you.
Oh, my
Very
pleasure.
nice, very nice expression.
Oh, thank you, friend.
It's the old shell trick with a twist. Does everybody know here what the old shell trick is?
I don't know, Brother Shankara.
Okay, anybody else not know?
Is it like with the cups where they put the ball?
Yeah.
It would be,
Exactly.
my modern version would be the cups that you get in the cinema.
Right, that the
Find the
magician
ball.
uses. The magician uses. And of course, what's going on is the magician is palming the ball. It isn't under any one of those cups. So no matter what I happen to know this because my son is a very skilled magician, very skilled. He was trained at the Magic Castle in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And though he didn't tell me this, they never tell me. They never tell you what their trick is. Oh, is that a fur person you have behind you there?
Oh, yes, that's Reggie.
Hello, Reggie. So
Yes.
good to see you.
Oh, he loves friends.
Well, we love the fur persons.
Oh, yes, we got
So
one.
anyway, no matter which cup you choose, you're going to be wrong because the ball's not under any of them. And the shell trick is exactly the same thing, just using shells rather than cups. And so it doesn't matter which shell you pick. It's not under any of them. It's in the palm of the. So then, when you pick one, the magician, of course, then says, "No, see, it's under this one," and he picks it up and puts. They're very practiced and very skilled with their hands. No matter how hard you try, you can't see them do it. So this is wonderful. I saw God put himself in one of your pockets. You're bound to find him. Anybody else have anything to say about this? Again, we've got Tukaram with a wink in each one of these poems, it seems to me. Ima, you see anything here that we haven't
Yes,
remarked on?
I do, Brother Shankara. Since we have been reading and we found out Atman is our God inside us, and we are bound to find him. He's everywhere. He's in our pockets. He's inside us, outside us. He's the whole universe.
Very well said, dear.
Can we not find him?
Yeah.
We are
But,
guided by him. Every day we are guided by him.
It's so sweet that Tukaram particularizes it by saying, I saw God put himself in one of your pockets. So it's that intimate, that close, that it's right there.
Yes, we are a piece of God, so he's there with
Yes,
us all the
right.
time. That's how I see it. Thank you.
Anything else from anyone?
Again, another short clip I watched today was a 53-second Sadhguru interview with somebody. And
Uh-huh.
I asked him, Sadhguru, are you ever lonely when you're alone? And he said, no, because the Creator is always with me. And then he asked the questioner, well, the questioner asked him, so who is the Creator? Then Sadhguru said, did you create? And so obviously the interviewer said no. So then Sadhguru said, well, if creation is everywhere, that means Creator is everywhere. So the Creator is always with me, I'm never alone.
Yes. I think we can all endorse that attitude. We may not
Definitely.
always embody it,
Truly,
may not
I
always
totally
feel it quite that way. Sadhguru is Sadhguru after all. But, definitely what he said is beyond, I mean, in every one of the spiritual traditions, we find this idea of omnipresence and omnipotence and omniscience. So, where can the divine being not be if they're omnipresent? Well, it's in one of your pockets. So you're bound to find him. That is one handsome dog, Jeffrey. That is one handsome dog. I'm very fond of dogs.
This
I
is
can't
Cashew.
have one here at the monastery, but I
Oh,
do have a very sweet cat. Her name is Davy, Devi.
oh, sweet Davy. This is little Cashew.
Cashew.
He's my little.
Oh, there. So Reggie went somewhere else, and now this is Cashew.
Yeah, Reggie's behind me.
Uh-huh.
There's Reggie,
Yeah.
and there's
They're
Cashew.
beautiful.
Oh,
Yeah.
they're the best. They're the
Yeah,
best.
of
I love
course.
dogs too.
Cashew is a cat, yeah.
I know Cashew is a dog, a little dog.
Cashew's also, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Then I looked at my vision is very poor.
Yeah, he's a
Anything?
little Chihuahua Schnauzer.
Oh, yeah. Anything else anyone wants to say about this poem with a wink in it? Okay. I might act serious. Haima, would you like to read this?
Oh, sure, Brother Shankar, such a little one-liner. I might act serious. If God would stop telling jokes, I might act serious.
So we can see the through line here. So please go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Exactly, that's okay. I might act serious. If God would stop telling jokes, I might act serious.
Right. The last two poems were, kind of jokey in a way.
Very jovial.
And he says, well, if God would stop telling jokes, then I might act serious. He doesn't see any reason to act serious because God doesn't act that way. Now, Tukaram is immensely fortunate to have in his heart this way of seeing the world that these things that happen, not all of which, of course, are going to be pleasant. He sees them as jokes, and we find that in his earlier poems, that even the misfortunate things of life, he manages somehow to see otherwise.
Sure is.
And if you remember, when he, the biography of him in the beginning, as he's leaving home, he says, God's sending a taxi for me.
Taxi, yeah.
And he asks his wife if she would like to come along. And she says, no, who would take care of our cows as well as I do? Well, he doesn't judge her or say, oh, you're missing the boat here, He just says, okay. And the next morning he takes off and catches his taxi, so to speak.
That's right.
Anything else from anyone about it? I might act serious.
Yes. We've referenced this before on other poets,
Yes.
but the fact that he has that type of relationship with the divine.
Yes.
Yes, it's his interpretation. His interpretation of, like you just said, different issues that serious issues that, you know, he takes as jokes, but still, he's got to have that intimate relationship with the
Yes.
divine in order to have that view of it,
Yes.
right? And
That seems to be what characterizes each one of these
yeah,
saints,
so
is the intimacy of their relationship with the divine.
yeah, so I just, you know, it is a, you know, again, a wink, wink, like you say on a joke, but still that's, I don't know, a little deeper thing there. you know?
Right. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
Right.
Very, very good though.
Very good. Anything else from anyone?
I think again, sort of trying to dwell in the I'm not the doer attitude
Uh-huh.
help us to take everything light. I mean, if we think that everything is Brahman, so me as Swayam, oh, you just wanted to see this particular character in your dream. It's giving you some enjoyment, so let me do the best I can and, enjoy. So basically, Brahman is dreaming and creating, and he's enjoying, so everything is a joke. So if we take
Well, yeah, that's beautifully put, Swam. If we could all just hold that thought from moment to moment, some of us can. Cindy, we have someone new. He's from Chicago. His name is Jeffrey. And he has two lovely fur persons with him, Reggie and Cashew. Reggie and Cashew.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Are they particular breeds? Or are they?
One is Reggie behind me here is a wire-haired fox terrier.
Oh, that was my first dog when I was little. Was a
Oh,
wire.
they're such a lovely breed. We love
Yeah.
our little wire hair. And this one is a Chihuahua Schnauzer mix.
Wow.
One's from the
Sweet.
shelter. This is our shelter dog. This is from the breeder dog.
Okay. Okay.
One of these.
Yeah.
Well, they're both.
Chihuahua Schnauzer. What an interesting mix.
He's my little
That
buddy.
would result in an interesting personality, I would think.
Oh yes, they both have big
I'm
personalities.
sure they do. Yes.
A lot of love. We
Well,
love
you allow them to too. That's the secret of living with these fur persons, is to allow them to be who they are.
Oh yes, and children. I'm a preschool teacher, so I teach
Oh,
4-year-olds. So they're lovely teachers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
4-year-olds, so present, so
Preschool.
playful and loving.
How good for you, Jeffrey. Those children are very fortunate to have you as their teacher.
We have so much fun. We do.
Jeffrey, your Reggie has the color of walnut, so I'm going to nickname him Walnut. So Cashew.
Oh, I'll happy take on walnut. I'll have my whole set of nuts.
Sometimes I feel like a nut, sometimes I don't. Swayam, you have the book open there? Do you? Swayam?
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Yes, I have the book and I'll be happy to read.
Yeah, please read Birds Don't Brag About Flying.
Birds don't brag about flying. Birds don't brag about flying the way we do. They don't write books about it and then do workshops. They don't take on disciples and spoil their own airtime. Who could dance and achieve liftoff with a bunch of wackos tugging on you? Birds don't brag about flying. Birds don't brag about flying the way we do. They don't write books about it and then give workshops. They don't take on disciples and spoil their own airtime. Who could dance and achieve liftoff with a bunch of wackos tugging on you?
I swear, Tukaram is priceless. Yeah, Ramana Maharshi did not give any workshops. He didn't charge for his whatever he offered when people came wandering in and asked him about things. And, neither did Sri Ramakrishna, and neither did Christ. And they didn't write any books about it. Not one of those three that you can point at and say, that looks an awful lot like a realized soul. Not one of them wrote a book.
And neither did Buddha, I guess. And also, the last one, who could dance and achieve liftoff with a bunch of wackos tugging on you? So, I mean, centuries after Buddha, so many different sects and subsects formed, and who knows what the original teachings of Buddha are. I mean, there's so much confusion now, the wackos.
Well, that's what happens over these centuries. But as Swami Vivekananda remarked about Christ, he said, if all the scriptures of the world, all the teachings of all the other great teachers were to disappear and only this remained, it could all begin again from here. And then he quoted Christ's, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." And so I think we can probably, if Vivekananda's assertion means what I feel it means, we can feel that Christ really said that. So, and, there's probably some veracity in the fourfold, the Four Noble Truths of the Buddha and the Eightfold Path. The Diamond Sutras. A friend of mine who's a very sincere and long practicing Buddhist, he thinks that the Diamond Sutras and the fourfold, the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path are accurate representations of what the Buddha spoke in Pali. But this is the thing. We only feel this tugging at us and holding us down if we're one of those people that writes books and holds workshops. Of course they're not going to achieve liftoff because they've gotten all these people dependent on them. That's not what a guru does. A real guru gives you the knowledge of how to remove the darkness and then sits back. And if you want to come back and talk to them again later, then, they're willing to talk with you, but they don't feel you tugging at them more. It's only when you're paying these money to go to workshops and buy books and so on that you get this karmic relationship with people, which I just think that Tukaram, birds don't brag about flying the way we do. Anybody else got anything to say about this funny and very trenchant poem?
A bird is representing me. I'm just thinking it's like a liberated soul. It's a free soul. Bird is flying, not tugged onto anything. When the soul is liberated, you don't have to tug on anything anymore.
Exactly.
It's totally free. Liberate yourself, and then
yes, the word in Sanskrit,
full liberation.
The word in Sanskrit, of course, is independent, kaivalya.
Completely kaivalya, exactly.
Yes. Nothing, not conditioned by anything, not limited by anything.
That's what I was thinking. The bird represents liberation of the soul.
And of course, the way Christ put it is, he just said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be added unto you. He doesn't say, you know, you have to come and listen to me and attend my workshops and read my books. And
Exactly.
he just says, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And then he gives you some instructions, Sermon on the Mount and the parable of the prodigal child and so on, to give you some guidance. And then I'm pretty sure he took his own instruction as represented in the Gospel of Thomas. You know, he became a passerby.
Yes. It's almost like a bird, right? Be passersby. It's like a bird.
Yeah.
Just keep watching and keep moving type of
Right.
thing.
Achieved liftoff.
Lift off. Thank
was,
you.
It was painful during the time of the Passion, but you know, if we believe about the Transfiguration and so on, he did indeed achieve liftoff. Anything else about this splendid little poem?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too that birds flying is quite a miraculous thing
Oh,
in
yes.
itself, and they do it just quite naturally and, you know, like without effort if you are a winged creature, right?
Right.
So it's just, you know, just that little bit is just quite extraordinary right there. They don't brag about it, they just do it, you know, and they don't have their ego wrapped up in all of it. I don't know.
Right.
So
Precisely.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting who discovered the principle of how birds flew, at least in the West. I don't know if there was anyone who discovered it in the East, but it was Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci discovered that it was the curvature of the wing and the angle at which the wings, called dihedral, that allowed them to fly, develop the vacuum over their wings that lifted them off. Astounding.
Yeah, and I just think I have a lot of backyard birds in my yard. And you know, could you just hear them saying, hey, did you see me fly from, you know, this dogwood over to that maple tree? You know, I mean,
right.
they don't do, you know, that doesn't happen.
Nope. Whatever they're saying, it's not that.
It's not that. But I have to tell you guys, I saw a pileated woodpecker today.
Yeah.
Just fly by. It's one of the big woody woodpeckers, the big ones.
Uh-huh.
In the backyard. And my husband saw 2 of them today. I just saw a glimpse of it, a glimpse flying by, but he saw really good close up of it for a good.
Wow.
We've seen them before, but they're just magnificent to see. If you've ever seen them, you know.
They make a heck of a racket when they're in the trees.
Well, they do, yeah. But that was kind of a little highlight of my day.
Well, Jeffrey, would you like to read this next one?
Sure. My lucky rock. I said to a squirrel, what is that you are carrying? And he said, it is my lucky rock. Isn't it pretty? I held it and said, indeed. I said to God, what is this earth? And he said, it is my lucky rock. Isn't it wondrous? Yes, indeed.
Oh.
My lucky rock. I said to a squirrel, what is that you are carrying? And he said, it is my lucky rock. Isn't it pretty? I held it and said, indeed. I said to God, what is this earth? And he said, it is my lucky rock. Isn't it wondrous? Yes, indeed.
Ah, me. You know, so many of these saints talk about talking with squirrels. I got to think that they must be one of the easier animals to talk with, because They certainly are chatty. I mean, if you listen to them talking to one another, they're very talkative. But Saint Francis of Assisi talks about it. I think Meister Eckhart talks about it. Who else? Somebody else, Hafiz or Kabir, one of them. And now Tukaram. The one of Saint Francis of Assisi, his conversation with the squirrel is priceless. We'll get back to it after some months. So Swayam, what do you see here? I'm fascinated with the way you're thinking tonight. What is it that you see here?
What I'm thinking is, as far as we know, there is no life on the other planets, and we have no idea about anything more distant than that. But on the Earth, there is so much scope for varieties of creation, and no wonder God calls it his lucky rock, because he can put his creativity to work.
Ah, beautiful. Yes, the great John Donohoe, the Irish poet and religious philosopher, in his book Anamkara has a lot to say about that, which I will quote this coming Sunday. Exactly. And if you just think about it from the beginning of what we call life on this earth, there's nothing, according to those who say they truly experience consciousness, there's nothing that's lifeless. But, when we think about life as something that lives and breathes in some sense, the variety, as you said, Swayam, of what has been on earth over these couple of billion years. The earth is 4 billion years old. Life is apparently 2.4 billion years old. Amazing.
And if God considers Earth as his lucky rock, then we should be so joyful that he made us a part of it.
Ah, very nicely said. Yes. Well, certainly each one of these saints expresses that attitude, how joyful they are to be part of it. Nicely said. Yes, Jeffrey.
I'm thinking about the squirrel and his lucky rock.
Yeah.
So we think of the earth as being wondrous, right? But a rock, we don't tend to think of a rock as being wondrous and, but the rock also, what makes the rock and the earth the same in some ways is that they both are. The rock is, the earth is. And isn't that wondrous? Because the rock is also, isn't it pretty? Right? Indeed. To me, the rock that the squirrel has is also part of it. I feel like it's easy to dismiss the squirrel. It's just a rock. Like, what makes it lucky? What makes it God's lucky rock and the squirrel's lucky rock? But they both are, right? To be, right? That's just where my thoughts went.
Whoa, I really like it. Yes. And
the rock is also the miracle, right? The simple rock in the squirrel's hand. It's
for the squirrel. These saints, they're not blowing smoke at us. If he says he had this conversation with the squirrel, I believe he did. I just have to believe that of these people that Ladinsky chose to interpret so that we could get some sense of what they said at the time that they said it.
And the word lucky, it's his, what is luck? What it's his lucky rock.
Yeah.
Both, it's my luck, luck, the luck of existence, the luck, to me, the luck of being here, right? What a miracle, just to be.
Yes.
To be a rock, to be earth, to be me, you, to be a piece of garbage is still being, right? So that, to me, it's interesting, with that word lucky, and there's, because it's not just God holding the earth, but there's also this squirrel holding this rock.
Yeah.
And isn't it pretty? Indeed. It's
Yes.
so inclusive. I think that's
Yes.
so beautiful about this poetry, is it's so inclusive of everything.
Yes.
It's so infinitely tender and open, and it's so experiential in a poem. You could read books, right, kind of talking about consciousness, and it's all kind of mind stuff, but I think poetry has a way of setting a trap, if you will, and you just kind of fall into it, and it's like, oh yes, well, of course it is.
And
It's
it comes
right now, right? It's this, right? And it doesn't
and
have to be better than this, right? Like so often the ego, if you will, wants what's next, wants the better thing. All right, but I want what did it's always, but this is everything. It's not.
once again, whether you were aware of it, Jeffrey, or not, you're paraphrasing Walt Whitman in his poem, his great poem, Song of Myself. It's almost, it was very close paraphrase to what he says there.
Yeah.
And, he's another one of those realized souls, it seems.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And that's it, It's lucky because that's how the squirrel feels about it. We don't have to question the squirrel about why he feels that that rock is auspicious for him. It's my lucky rock. Isn't it pretty? And I've no doubt that that particular rock was pretty. There is in the tradition of the proper word is Sanatana Dharma. Hinduism is the name the British carelessly came up with for it. Within Sanatana Dharma, there is a sect of people that worship God in the form of Krishna and Rama. And one of the things that they have as an emblem or embodiment of that divine is a rock. It's called a salagram or salagrama. I have one here, and it definitely is beautiful. It was, I didn't find it, it was given to me. And so, once again, there's this sense that Tukaram would not tell us any more than St. Francis would have, or any of the others, that hey, they'd had a conversation with a squirrel or an ant or whatever it is that they had a conversation with, if they hadn't actually had that conversation. And, there is that book, Kinship with All Life, that gives us instruction on how to do it ourselves. I read the book, but I never followed the instructions. But this is the thing. What does Tukaram do when he has this conversation with the squirrel? Oh, he immediately takes it to his friend, this jokester God, and says, I said to God, what is this earth? And he said, it's my lucky rock. Isn't it wondrous? Yes, indeed. Although in this dark time, we certainly don't seem to treat it that way. Anything else before we move on? Cindy, are you there? Do you want to read a poem? I see your picture, but I think you've got your video turned off.
Yeah, I'll read. What do we got?
Okay.
We're on
Feeling very secure, page.
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Feeling very secure. Some planets rolled in those openings on the side of my head. I haven't heard anything for years. Whenever I see a mouth moving in front of me, I just assume someone is saying something brilliant and then go on about my day feeling very secure. I'll read it again. Feeling very secure. Some planets rolled in those openings on the side of my head. I haven't heard anything for years. Whenever I see a mouth moving in front of me, I just assume someone is saying something brilliant and then go on about my day feeling very secure.
Can you tell us why you like this poem? Cindy, before you read, you said you liked this one very much. What is it about it you
Well,
like?
it just tickles me. And of course, that's what Tukaram does.
Yeah.
And I heard Terry Gross was interviewing this guy. I can't remember his name, but he's a famous New Yorker cartoonist. And he mentioned to her what his favorite one that he had done was, or one of them, and it was of her. And described it, and they talked about it, and she asked him why he thought it was funny. And he said, the obvious things, this, that, and the other. And he said, but mostly because I can't really say why it's funny, and yet it just is. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Because those are both, those are the funniest things, the things that make us laugh. But, if somebody says, well, why is this funny?
Yeah.
Or why is this beautiful?
Yeah.
We
What do you
just
think
know
I am, a
it.
Motorola?
Huh?
It's that penguin joke, the punchline of which is, what do you think I am, a Motorola?
Oh, I thought it was a typewriter.
Well, he tells it both ways.
Yeah, it's been told many ways. What do you
Yeah.
think I am? Well, there's some other things too. Typewriter. What do I look like? A radio?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Well, you cannot say why that joke is funny, but it's just hilarious. So I agree with you entirely. Why? Go
I
ahead.
love the whimsy, and I love the
Yes.
willingness to be so whimsical without really, trying to be whimsical too
Yes.
much. It's just, this is really how he sees things.
In his own poem, he says cute. He says
Yeah,
God
cute.
tells him to stop being so cute. So does anybody have any idea why at the end of it he says he feels so secure?
He takes life so lightly, Brother Shankar. Very optimistic, very positive person, very detached from the world. And
Yes.
I mean, he's so detached. At the same time, he just moves on like a air moving in the house, even with his own second wife, who was so cruel to him. I mean, never understood his relationship to God. She never understood. That's what he implied in his story. But he took it so lightly, never took it harshly, always said, oh, what a wonderful wife you gave me, God. I could never be attached to this world. I mean, that is such a lighthearted,
Yes.
wonderful detachment. It's a great lesson for all of us too, the human world. Bhakta Tukaram.
I just assume someone is saying something brilliant
Yeah.
and then go about my day feeling very secure.
See,
He doesn't need to know what they said. He just knows that whatever it is, it doesn't matter what they said.
He thinks so positively about it. He just thinks it's something brilliant, rather than thinking somebody is cursing me. He would never think of that way. He always thinks so positive.
Yeah.
Everywhere. That's what I see in this poem. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't remember which one of the poets it is, but maybe it's Kabir, who says, if you want to be friends with it, I think it's Hafiz. He says, if you want to be friends with people, when they say something, just react. Just let your eyes and your lips say, oh, that's brilliant, no matter what they said. So, because as Hafiz points out, all our thoughts and therefore all our speech is just innocent steps on the path. And I love that line.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear, please.
I think he is living in silence because he cannot hear anything. He doesn't have to hear words and interpret the meaning and tell stories. And so basically, the silence, living in silence, is what makes him feel secure. And I'm glad that you brought up the eyes along with the lips, because sometimes we don't hear the words, we just see the expressions and start assuming things.
Yes.
So both, if we can close, we would be more secure.
Well, it's interesting how he opens it. Some planets rolled in those openings on the side of my head. Now, that is going to keep you from hearing. Some planets, not, not a mite of dust, not, a pebble. Some planets rolled in those openings on the side of my head. I haven't heard anything for years. Now, does he mean that quite literally? No, he does not. That's metaphorically. Because he had that conversation with his wife, about whether she was going to go with him on the taxi that God was sending for him. I don't think he was deaf in that sense. But what is it that planets are? Planets are whole other realities.
And they're pretty darn big, too. I mean, how big is
Yes.
his head when these planets are rolling into his ears?
Well, Jill Bolte Taylor says, when you ask her, who are you? I am a being as big as the universe. That's what she says. For those of you who don't know, Jill Bolte Taylor is the neuroanatomist who had a massive left brain hemorrhage and watched herself having it, completely lost her left brain functions, and became aware only of her right brain, as she calls it, personality, which essentially is the personality of the heart, and became, in her experience, one with all creation. And so that has stayed with her. And she says, I am a being as big as the universe. Well, if Tukaram shared that sense from his own experience for whatever reason, then of course planets would roll in the openings on the side of his head. I just assume someone is saying something brilliant and then go about my day feeling very secure. Who'd like to read the next one? Anybody at all?
I can read, Brother Shankara.
Please, Haima.
Sure. Little jabs that they are. We should rumble, God said. I don't want to. I'm too tired, I replied. Come on, give me your best shot. He persisted. Okay, I thought. So I hit him with 8,000 points. Little jabs that they are. I didn't want to hurt the old guy.
Please read it again.
Little jabs that they are. We should rumble, God said. I don't want to. I'm too tired, I replied. Come on, give me your best shot, he persisted. Okay, I thought. So I hit him with the 8,000 poems, little jabs that they are. I didn't want to hurt the old guy. All capital letters. That is so funny. He's just hilarious as usual.
Yep.
So jovial.
Anybody got anything they'd like to say about this funny little
It
poem?
shows the closeness that he had with God, just calling him an old guy, like, just like Swami Vivekananda used to sometimes refer to Sri Ramakrishna as the old man.
The old man,
Because
yeah.
they felt so close. So it's not some kind of a put down or insulting, it's just how close they are.
And, if we're thinking in boxing terms, which is the terms he's using here, give me your best shot. This is, when people are doing sparring, they're getting ready for a fight, they'll have a sparring partner. And the one who's training for the fight will say, okay, give me your best shot. And they're not sparring with somebody who's an expert themselves. They're sparring with somebody who's skilled. Otherwise, there'd be no sense in them practicing with them. And of course, they're asking for trouble because they might not be able to block it and could get hurt. So give me your best shot. And the sparring partner is obligated to do it. And so Tukaram says, I didn't want to hurt the old guy, so I just gave him these little jabs, which is another boxing term, usually with the left hand, left jabs, just to, keep the opponent off balance. And so this is just a really interesting poem. Little jabs that they are. These are not roundhouse rights. These are not uppercuts. These are little jabs. Insightful. But, the jab, using that terminology, and Ladinsky is never careless. I never sense that he's careless. If he uses the words little jabs, he means, keeping the relationship very active by keeping the old guy off balance without really hurting him. That's really is, as you pointed out, Swayam, it's a very intimate relationship. Anything else from anyone? All right, it's 8:29. We have a minute left. So we'll start with this poem again next week because nobody said much about it, and maybe there's not that much to say. I prattled on about it, but just as has been said so many times, that's just how it is from here. Other people may hear something very different. We'll see next week. So I'm going to close with a Sanskrit prayer. Om Hari Om. Om Sato Ma Satgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Abir Moiti. Oh, dearly beloved, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from this realm of endless noise and relentless delusion to thine abode of silence, serenity, clarity, and peace. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through, light us through and through with thy everlasting shining presence. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Anyone else have any closing thought? All
Well,
right.
thank you everybody for welcoming me. It's been a
Mm.
pleasure.
Thank you,
And
Jeff.
know how sincere it is, Jeffrey. We're just so glad you found us. And it's so nice to have met not only you, but Cashew and Reggie.
Oh, well, thank you.
As I said, when I moved here 12 years ago, I brought two dogs that were both a little indeterminate in age, but 17 or older. They didn't last long, but I moved here from California after my late wife passed away, and brought those two dogs with me. And because of the rules of the monastery I now live in, they didn't want me to have any more dogs. A lot of the Indian people who come here are very afraid of dogs because of how it is in India and how they were brought up. But I do have this lovely cat named Devi, D-E-V-I.
No.
Any final thoughts from anyone else?
Just thank you for the evening and welcome, Jeffrey. Great to have you with us.
And I mean it, Jeffrey, from everything you've said, those are very fortunate preschoolers.
Oh, thank you, friend. I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I remember what it was like to be in the early grades. I didn't go to preschool. I don't think they even had such a thing in 1945, 46. But in any event, I remember well my first and second grade teachers. It's important to get off to a good start.
Oh, yes.
Anything else from anyone?
How is June?
Heidi, anything to say about
Yeah,
June?
June, I talked to her, I think last Thursday. And Jeffrey, June is like 96-year-old gal who joins us and just very insightful and wonderful person. She had fell and had hip replacement surgery recently, but last Thursday she was starting to walk with a cane. And so she's progressing. She has some PT at home, but Elizabeth and I saw her maybe 2 weeks ago, I think Wednesday, and had lunch at her place, and she's doing really, really well, you guys. So I send our love to her. I don't know if she'll be back to join us, but
Well, once she gets home and feels secure, she seemed to enjoy this so much. And
she did. She is home. She's been home now for
Okay.
several weeks.
all right, well, maybe she'll be able to join us sometime soon. And Jeffrey, you will take delight in this. All the rest of us know her.
She's
You will
just
take delight in this woman who says, in all seriousness, if I get married again, and she's 96 years old,
I look forward to
and she is just a pure delight, pure delight.
she
And
really is.
when she says something from her many years with us, among us, I should say, not among us literally, but just among us as the human family, she's gleaned a few things really well worth listening to. So until
And Shankara, one other thing, I think Ross is going to try to come over and look at those tables tomorrow.
oh, please, yes.
Okay. We'll be in touch with Elizabeth and,
Well, I'll be here.
Okay.
I'll be here tomorrow. I'm not going anywhere. So I'll be happy to talk with him and tell him
He
what's.
He's laughing in the background. He heard you say that.
Well, hello, Ross. Good to think of you coming.
Hey, he says. So anyway, just FYI.
Just so everybody will know what we're talking about. We got some tables half finished, and the fellow who was working on them for us got promoted in his job and no longer had time to do any side work. The demands on him were too great. So Heidi's husband, Ross, has offered to do the, get them ready to set out in our new patio, so that as spring is sprung on us, then we'll have this lovely patio out there with these tables. Oh, and Cindy, we need to get a bench over here and get it refinished. Ross can do that too.
The
I think.
bench? You mean the big long bench that's in the storage?
The long bench that's in storage, yeah.
Oh, okay. Then we can get the rest of the stuff out of storage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get
Stop paying that bill.
Hey, Ross.
Hey, Ross. Good to see you, man.
Me too.
All right.
I'll come by tomorrow and check those tables out and see what.
All right. It's relatively simple,
Oh, it probably is.
but what needs to be done, but you'll see.
Thanks a lot.
Anyway, a great good night to you. As my Celtic forebears used to say, a great good night to you, if it pleases your great and wonderful self. So may we spend a sweet, restorative, and restful night, and wake feeling joyous in the morning, ready to offer the day to the divine and do the necessary. So good night, everyone. I'm going to click
Good night. Thank you.
until next time, and we'll finish up Tukaram probably next week, and then the week after we'll start again at the beginning with that amazing creature, Rabia. Good night, all.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Heidi.